Have you ever considered visiting Liberia? Well, if you so much as driven through the Navajo Nation, you might be more well-traveled than you think. Welcome to part 24 of the United States might as well be 53rd world countries stacked up in a trench coat. When it comes to developing nations, Liberia comes to mind when I think about the Navajo Nation. And this is just based on the history. The United States literally started sending slaves back to Africa in 1822. It was a colony in West Africa that people were getting sent to. In 1847, that colony will become Liberia. Liberia, being surrounded by European colonies and in conflict with the indigenous people that lived there before, had a lot of trouble growing as a country. If we fast forward 20 years and jump a couple of oceans over, the Navajo Nation is making similar moves. They signed a treaty in 1868 that made them a sovereign nation, and then in 1923, they signed the deal that would get them recognized by the federal government. In exchange, the federal government was going to come in and start taking things. This is where we get the start of the Navajo Nation that exists today, that currently spreads across Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. I think it stops at Colorado. And when you look at pictures, you're going to see two completely different places. What makes them the same is very much the fact that they would not exist if not for American colonialism. If we jump back across those same oceans just a few years later, the American company Firestone would make the first major investment in the African continent, very specifically in Liberia. They opened up the world's biggest rubber plantation that still exists today. In Liberia, rubber is a $200 million industry. Over half of the population lives on less than $2 a day. If we look back, pretty much from the time of me making this video all the way back to the time that the Navajo Nation signed that federal deal, American companies have been extracting resources at the cost of the people that live there. From uranium mining to natural gas, minerals, you name it. And to me, that's kind of insane because when we think about other oil producing areas, right, Texas, I'm sure there are other places, that's just the first one that comes to mind. The oil is associated with money. But for some reason on the Navajo Nation, 40% of the people are estimated to be living in poverty. Sounds really similar to a place like Liberia. By now you probably understand nobody is telling you to move to Liberia, especially if you live on the Navajo Nation. But I think it's important for us as Americans to ask ourselves why a region in the Southwest has a similar history to a West African colony and gets to similar outcomes. Put your city or state in the comments if you want me to do yours next. We're going to go through all 50 states with this series. Shoot me a follow if you want to see when I do yours.